what we've been through. Men come in different shades. It's how we're made. The little house on Ellis Drive. Most alive, the oak tree covered that old fort. I miss it, Lord. I miss it, Lord. These blood red eyes don't see so good, but what's worse if they could? Would I change my ways? Wasted time, broken dreams, violent colors so obscene. That's all I see these days. These days. Watch what you say. The devil is listening. He's got ears that you wouldn't believe. And brother, once you go to him, it's your soul. You can never retrieve. These blood red eyes don't see so good, but what's worse is if they could. Would I change my ways? Wasted time and broken dreams, violent colors so obscene. It's all I see these days. These days.
Alrighty, we're back. Can you? Thanks for staying with us. Planet Green Tree's 374th episode.
374.
And in the queue we have nationally renowned attorney from Cannabis Council, Matthew Abel. Welcome, Matt Abel. Are you there?
Free the weed, brother.
All right, good. We got Matt, and I think we have Paul Tylinda, who is also in the queue, to add to the learnedness that we are going to try to give to the community right now. And also,
I'm here.
All right, Paul Tylinda, Cannabis Warrior, and legendary Chris Robinson lookalike, I should say, Brad Forrester, please. Welcome, Brad Forrester. Nobody gets that reference. I'm telling you, they look exactly like
thanks for the kind introduction, Michael.
All right, so nobody was listening to this show before. I'm going to assume nobody heard what was said by the other lawyers, but we walked away from the conversation with optimism. Don't worry about it. This is a diversion by the Trump administration in their indictments. The world is not going to change.
I thought we were going to start singing Kumbaya.
Keep going forward. Matt Abel, what do you say? Do you agree? What's your thoughts? Is this meaningful, the Sessions memo?
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. It certainly could be if they decide to turn their backs on other type of criminal enterprises, not other. If they decide to use this as an enforcement priority. There's a new U.S. attorney in Detroit, and that guy can kind of direct prosecutions as he wishes, but it seems like there's plenty of other stuff for them to focus on: corruption and payoffs, bribery, a lot of construction contract stuff, sewers, that stuff.
Right,
and
A lot of other drugs too.
Yeah, and each of those, and you can even look back over the last 8 years, the discretion that was used by the two various U.S. attorneys, one being Barbara McQuaid, who we did not see a lot of Eastern Federal District, as many as there were in the Western District, Patrick Miles, but that's a fact that you could attribute to priorities and discretion being used, and I agree, Matt. Like that's one of the things that they refer to. He refers to as the discretion of the local attorney generals. Do you think it makes a difference if the state of Michigan takes steps to reschedule or deschedule for purposes of federal prosecution? What do you say, Paul Tylinda?
I don't think it matters because I don't think the feds are going to care what Michigan says. I am curious, though, to see where the judiciary takes this and if it makes a difference for them at all, because it seems like there's even a moving trend in federal court to at least allow you to start talking about medical marijuana, or at least starting to assert that, hey, I'm in compliance with state law. To think that the Sessions memo is going to have some huge landscape change to anything that's going on, I don't think so. But again, like Matt said, we'll see. I mean, I've always thought that with issues like this, you kind of look to the West, and if you start seeing big things happening in California and Colorado and the like, then maybe Michigan start to sweat it. But I don't think Michigan itself, because we're so immature and underdeveloped in terms of our retail market, that we're necessarily a target at all. But in terms of the priorities too, I think that, like you said, Michael, it's going to have to do with what these prosecutors also have on their plate and what they politically need to fight based on what region they're in. Like in Detroit, yes, we have some corruption, whereas on the west side of the state, it seems like something that, they can fly over there without getting a lot of backlash. But to think that in the same way that the Cole memo and the Ogden memo, and none of that really handcuffed any of the prosecutors, I don't think that the Session memo in the inverse forces prosecutors to do anything. I think, if in the plain language of the Sessions memo, it reads like an old Southern man talking from a porch about saying, marijuana's back on the table in terms of, it's whatever is a crime, and we're not going to treat anything differently. So again, and I just don't see it, because even some of the language in there, I think, reflects some of the regional, has to do with, the impact on the community. So I think you'll see the enforcement where you would see it before and had seen it before. And some of the stuff that you've seen maybe in like 2010 or 11, maybe some of the bigger cartel-based medical marijuana or legal marijuana operations, I think that might be a result. But in terms of like wholesale change or a whole sea change of real impact, I don't expect it.
I want to ask Brad Forrester what the hell he's thinking with Jeff Sessions in 1 second, but let me go into Matt just real quick, because if the discretion is with the U.S. attorney, the federal U.S. attorney in the Eastern District, and really the question should be framed like this: the state is going to be licensing what still remains a Schedule I drug, by definition, in Michigan under Michigan law, for all this activity with the Schedule I drug for the purpose of treating somebody's medical condition that they have to have a card for. Doesn't it make sense that the state of Michigan should? If they did, let's say they realized this is a conundrum that doesn't make any sense in any world, and they actually took the steps so that arguably contracts could be enforced, because it's not about an illegal substance but something that's scheduled or whatnot. But let's say we get to that point. Does something like that, like a real commitment of the state to because even now, you know what I'm saying? Isn't that an argument like it's still Schedule 1 in Michigan? They can do whatever they want, but still, does that make a difference for the federal government's desire to prosecute these kind of facilities? Assume that the state does to create Schedule 2. That's the question. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think other states, Michael, have done that. I think in Oregon it's not a Schedule 1. And, that doesn't mean they're not going to prosecute there. I think what Paul said is correct, that this doesn't really mean anything in the, legally. And but what I'm hoping is that perhaps this will stimulate us activists to focus even more on Congress. Right in the memo, they say these statutes reflect Congress's determination that marijuana is a dangerous drug. And I mean, I don't like Sessions, I don't agree with him, but I understand that he's, he kind of has the right to say that. He's not the idiot who said it's a dangerous drug. It's Congress. I realize he was in Congress when that happened, probably, but he was the idiot then,
The lie remains.
So,
The lie remains, and he's enforcing that, and that's what it is. It's the law.
The law has to change
Right.
at this
Right.
point in order for it to go forward. It causes a lot of problems.
Well, everyone agreed that the Rohrabacher, the Blumenthal-Rohrabacher amendment, which is valid for another week or so.
Week and a half.
And that's what I get to the telltale. If everyone if it's agreed that that's what everyone's holding on to, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop. And what's to stop being like a federal, some of these like multi-jurisdictional task forces that we've seen, that whatever, and they prosecute. They have DE agents working on the case. They use their, tools to investigate. But it is going to be a test, Matt Abel. I agree. Whether or not that will be renewed, right? Because that's the legislative act that can continue the intention and override this crazy moving backwards in time policy. I don't know. Brad Forrester, what are your thoughts? Is this is Jeff Sessions a really bad man? Is he really twisting this in such a way because he just hates people who are marijuana users because it's the devil's lettuce, or is this just a play by the Trump administration to divert attention?
Well, I think the two lawyers, brought up a perfect point that there's really no legal implication from today's change, other than the U.S. attorneys have a little more discretion, supposedly, to, raid and file charges against entities. So, if there's not a whole lot of legal ramification from this, I guess I would ask myself, if there's no legal reason to do this, then there must be a political reason to do this. And so, the political junkie analyst type guy that lives within me says, well, what could possibly be, a political reason to do this? And, the big obvious thing that the conclusion that I would jump to is, maybe this is some convoluted component to reaching a budget deal. Who knows? Maybe this is Trump's way of forcing Congress to address this issue. And, he knows this is a winner with Democrats. I think he needs 60 votes, doesn't he, in the Senate to pass his budget? So, here's a way to kind of maybe possibly ensure that you get those 60 votes to pass your budget. And maybe what you give up in return is some assurances on this marijuana issue that seems to be bugging everybody. And, if we look at the broader picture yet, we have a country that shares, 2,600 miles, over 4,000 miles, a northern border with us, who's preparing to launch a legalization scheme here, this summer, next summer, sometime in the real near future. There's some big, there's a lot of moving parts to what's going on here, guys. And I think that, looking at this and saying, well, this is Jeff Sessions, this is what he's doing, and I think we're giving this guy way too much credit. I don't think he's got the brains. I don't think he makes a move without Trump's okay.
Yeah, but
I think you're right on that, Brad. I think there may be something to say that if Trump fires Sessions or somehow Sessions gets canned